Here's a graph that shows immigration under Bush, Obama, and then Trump first term, pretty much the same. Then we get to Biden. Well, Democrats can say they weren't for open borders, but it sure looks like someone left the gate unlocked.
Vice President Kamala Harris's tenure as border czar has been a complete and absolute failure. For the folks who claim she has never in charge of the border, since her appointment, Harris has gone to the border only once. Even worse, she never spoke to either of the past two chiefs of Border Patrol.
Now, Democrats will try to run from this record, but they cannot hide.
Guys, pay attention to this. In fact, Vice President Kamala Harris was recently criticized by Bill Maher for what he saw to be her blatant mismanagement of the U.S. border issue.
President Kamala Harris for her failed and dangerous policies as Joe Biden's border czar that caused the most catastrophic border crisis in modern history. No matter what congressional district you go to, the #1 issue facing Americans is Kamala Harris's open border crisis. And by every metric, Kamala Harris has failed to secure.
He deliberately tried to cast doubt on the effectiveness of the immigration policy of the Biden-Harris administration.
Democrats will try to run from this record, but they cannot hide. Joe Biden's open borders are Kamala Harris, and every elected Democrat is responsible for this.
To be honest, this goes beyond simple criticism. He claims that things have gotten out of hand and are now among the biggest problems we've seen in a long time.
The presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now. I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president, and I will not do that as president. The first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate.
Do you believe his criticism is valid, or is it just another extreme viewpoint? Remember to subscribe to get all the latest updates. Your subscription helps us continue uncovering amazing stories and delivering them to you before anyone else. Now let's take a closer look at Bill Maher's criticism of Vice President Kamala Harris. Particularly given the border situation that has been drawing international attention, the data cannot be ignored. The statistics tell a story that is both significant and difficult to overlook. Here's what happened. Biden and Harris faced a challenging immigration scenario when they took office. Immigration numbers have always been tricky, of course, but under Bush, Obama, and Trump, they seem to remain under control. Once the Biden administration took office, the numbers surged sharply. What is driving this increase? Did these changes just happen by coincidence, or were they influenced by new policies? Bill Maher doesn't make claims without evidence. He backs them with statistics and visuals. For example, he immediately created a graph comparing immigration numbers under the current administration to previous ones. The difference is striking. It's like night and day.
But let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening.
Continuous waves of immigration occurred under Trump, Obama, and Bush. However, what many are now calling an unprecedented surge is happening under the current administration. Maher seems to directly link this to the policies, or lack thereof, of Biden and Harris. Now let's focus on Vice President Harris. When she assumed office, she was tasked with the enormous responsibility of addressing the root causes of migration, a challenge everyone understood. Many expected her to take the lead, make tough decisions, and fully grasp the complexities of the issue. Yet, according to Maher, she has done the opposite. He has labeled her efforts a failure, citing her infrequent visits to the border and her clear disconnect from key figures in the process, including past Border Patrol chiefs she has refused to consult. These points are certainly damning. Public reaction has been inconsistent, to say the least. Harris's work in this area has faced criticism, reflected in her approval ratings, and many argue the issue hasn't received enough attention. Some believe there is little to no leadership, while others see conflicting signals from the administration. On one hand, policies seem to relax immigration enforcement, almost sending a yes but no message, while public statements discourage immigrants from entering. These mixed messages create confusion and chaos both at the border.
The graph that shows immigration under Bush, Obama, and then Trump first term, pretty much the same. Then we get to Biden. Well, Democrats can say they weren't for open borders, but it sure looks like someone left the gate.
And in the broader national discussion on immigration, both sides agree this is more than a simple policy mistake. It could be a political disaster. Democrats risk alienating their core supporters if they cannot convince conservatives and moderates that their approach works. Meanwhile, images of overcrowded detention facilities highlight the grim reality at the southern border, which is increasingly a humanitarian crisis due to overextended resources. Critics argue that addressing the situation requires substantive policy changes, not just talking points, in response to the rising numbers. The implications of this crisis are far-reaching. There could be long-term political consequences if the administration continues to overlook these alleged shortcomings, especially with upcoming elections on the horizon. In his television commentary, Bill Maher did more than simply criticize. He sparked discussions at dinner tables across the country and in think tanks in Washington. His perspective on how the issue is being managed and communicated is worth considering. Maher doesn't seem to be holding back. He even appeared to agree with some of Harris's own supporters, noting that the president and vice president are handling the matter quietly rather than with urgency. This dissatisfaction is evident in polls, which show a noticeable drop in her approval rating. According to Maher, this is one of the more telling aspects. Beyond the border situation, a credibility crisis is unfolding. Maher argues that the administration's failure to confront the issue directly is not only reducing the chances of an effective solution, but also increasing public distrust in their competence. The problem extends beyond border security. It raises questions about whether those in power are acting carelessly, ignoring the issue, or, in the worst-case scenario, doing nothing at all. Maher's bold claims have not gone unnoticed. Conservative media has amplified the notion that even some liberals are beginning to question the effectiveness of Democratic policy, creating a rare instance of seemingly nonpartisan critique. What do you think? Does Maher make valid points? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Vice President Harris should consider a different approach?